A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. Glad to be back. My apologies for not being on live last week. Sometimes real life gets in the way of football. Imagine that. Things that are more important than football. And so I couldn't get on last week. But I did try to give you a few updates, which I hope you enjoyed throughout last week. But I'm back on a live show. So we'll start listening to some of your comments that you have in the chat. But first of all, I've got to thank everybody that did send me some best wishes for my mum. She's back. She's out of hospital now, so fingers crossed. Road to recovery and all that. And I've got a few shout outs to make. First of all, to the tall fella, and I can't remember your name, who jumped on the video briefly after the Everton game. You're taller than Souček, so you know who you are. Hello to you, to Jim and his good lady who I saw at the game as well. Brian, who we met a couple of times on the train on the way back now, who sits there quietly and then we invade his space. And I feel sorry for you, Brian, but hello to you as well. To Chris as well. To Rob, who I met in the loo, but not in that way. And lastly, but not least, to Dave, who became a great granddad with little Lenny. Now, I promised him, I think it was the Nottingham Forest game, I'll definitely give you a mention. And I had it written down and I completely forgot. So, Dave, if you're watching, congrats to you. Welcome to the world. And yet another young hammer to Lenny. So a great granddad. Bloody hell. I'm not even looking forward to becoming a granddad, let alone a great one. So well done to you, mate. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, the usual stuff. There's a bit about Paqueta. I'll probably start with that. Then we'll look at Europe because we're back in Europe, we're playing back in Europe this coming Thursday when we set off to Germany. Not going to be an easy journey. Central Europe, and it's going to be tough to get there and back. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Of course, have a look at the updates, the game that was played against Everton, and of course, all the latest club updates as well. But before I do any of that, let's go into the chat and let's see who's around. And we'll go all the way to the top. Yeah, you're all, I think Aaron got it right. Good evening to you. Good evening, Flemmer. I hope you're well. £10, Paddy Power, still to come on. You've just lost your money. Anthony, good evening to you. I hope you're well. And good evening, Daniela. How are you? Usual, how are you, mate? The 5-0 at half time. Well, isn't that interesting? We were 4-0 down at half time, and then we only managed to draw 2-2 against Sheffield United. So does the result that we suffered at home against Arsenal make us as bad as Sheffield United? Anthos, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. All charges dropped because the Pac-Man threatened the FA. Rotten lot about time. Someone squared up. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to come to that in a minute because it's not quite over yet, unfortunately. Good evening, Tony, Rhonda and Tony. How are you? Oh, yes, the cat. Well, he's doing all right. He's not 100% yet. And he's costing us an arm and a leg. Anyway, DiCanio, good evening to you, but thank you for asking. Any truth in reports that Stell and Doddsy are planning a West Ham version of the Hangover movie in Freiburg? Do you know what? I've been to the last couple of away days. I've not seen, I know he's been there, but I've not seen him. He's probably hiding away. So I'm going to track him down in Freiburg and I wonder where we'll end up. Paul, not very far, all things considered, with all the travel news, which I'll get to when I talk about the game. So we probably won't get much further than Freiburg, to be honest. Good evening, Paul. I hope you're well. Super, absolutely. Hammer of the year so far. He's got to be, hasn't he? Anthony, still, did you know John Lyle paid Southall £5,000 for Evan Dellinger? Told him it won't be in the first team for a year and then in 3 weeks. I do know that story indeed. You see, even back then when we sign young players, we say to them, you know what, you might not be ready. I mean, Dev actually proved that he was ready, didn't he? And more. I wonder what he'd be worth nowadays. I've always maintained, I reckon Devonshire would be worth at least 60 or 70 million pounds if he was playing in today's game. Andy, how are you, mate? I'm very well. I hope you're well too. Good evening, Chief Philip. How are you? How quickly the mood can change. 2 great results. Hopefully we can kick on and have a great last third of the season. I'm still Moyes out. And though will never change my mind. That's fair enough. That's understandable. But I think he's here till the end of the season. So let's just enjoy it while what we've got left. What have we got? 11 league games left. Hopefully a few more European games, not just the 2 that are coming up, but maybe a few more than that. let's see what happens. Anthony, let's hope Phillips persuades Paqueta not to join Man City. It may not even be Man City, you know. Aaron, good evening to you. Difference is Paqueta will actually get a game for City. Were you going to say will he get a game or he will get a game? Would he be a starter? Let's not forget, £100 million players have sat on the bench at Man City. Guardiola doesn't care, does he? You come with a big price tag or not. If he thinks you should be on the bench, you will. John, there was an article by Hammers News say they spoke to the FA and the charges have not been dropped. Exactly that. So I'm going to get to that in a moment after I said all the hellos. Mark, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Klopp will be leaving Liverpool with a fantastic squad of youth and experience. Moyes will be leaving us with the smallest old squad in the Premier League. Criminal, in my opinion. I know a lot of people think that. Good evening, Sharky. How are you? It will hold up because I've got boosters all over the effing house. And I'll tell you something. If it drops this time round, I'm just going to chuck it all away. Anyway, Martin, good evening to you. How good was that? Superb. Hammer of the year. Got to be. Great to get 6 points from 2 games. A win on Thursday is what we need next. Absolutely. I think you were right, Paf. Good evening to you, mate. George, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Lee, as well. Mate, happy birthday to you. Advance happy birthday to you. Hopefully, we'll get a result for you for your birthday, mate. All the best wishes. James, hello, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Sean. How are you, mate? Happy birthday to you, mate. Howard, good evening to you as well. Good evening, Black Country. Pac-Man charges are still ongoing. It will be. Okay, let's start with that. And now, shall I come back to... Well, let's go say a few more hellos. Simon, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Bologna Lounge. How are you? Steve, evening all. Who was it that also said hello to me? Oh, another channel. And I said, message me on. I don't think I even gave you the email to message me on. So message me on. Damn it. My memory is like a sieve. West Ham Voice, whatever the channel was, message me on westhamvoice@gmail.com and let's do something together. Who else have we got in here? Mojo, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Hammer's dad. How are you? 2 minutes and counting. I was always on time. Brian, all respect to the stats. Been a nice couple of weeks. Just what we need going into Freiburg. Absolutely. You know, it's a shot in the arm, wasn't it? A good boost for us to actually win that game. I'm looking at Sean. Rest in peace, Wicky's belt. He tried to nick my belt all the way home on the train. I kept telling him to piss off. Bill, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got here? I'll tell you what. Let's go into the first story, shall we? And that, of course, is all about Lucas Paqueta. Now, we got we thought that we had... What's wrong with that? There we are. That's better. We thought that we actually had some great news. I mean, Paqueta's been called back to the Brazil squad ever since the FA launched an investigation about him, about this gambling breaches. He was dropped from the Brazil squad, but Paqueta is back, and he was included in the squad on Friday when he was named for the games coming up against England and Spain later this month. As you all know, subject to an investigation last August with suspicious betting inquiries, or betting patterns, should I say, related to yellow cards. How many yellow cards has he had since then? Probably not that many, to be honest. Now, obviously, Paqueta denied any wrongdoing, and he's complied with the FA. He's handed over all his mobile phone records and everything else that they've asked for. But because of the betting irregularities, one of the things that was a bonus to us, I guess, was the fact that Man City were looking at buying the player, and they kind of backtracked until the betting scandal's over. Now, what's going to happen is I talked about this a few weeks ago, that Paqueta's agents are getting a bit tired of the FA. They're kind of saying, put up or shut up. And if you don't, if you don't actually charge the player, then you've got to drop the charges. What Paqueta's agents want to do, and we understand this, I talked about it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, is that they want the betting sort of issues to be over and done with before the next transfer window. Because naturally, if any club comes in for Paqueta and offers the £85 million release clause in his contract, They want an opportunity for Paqueta to be able to, or the agents and Paqueta to be able to accept. Now, it could be Man City, it could be anyone else. Now, things seem to have changed. I mean, we thought we were going to have a bit of good news because the new Brazil coach, Dorival Jr., recalled the talent. He's, they talked about, Paqueta's been playing, etc. No reason not to pick him. So he's back, and Dorival has come up with a refreshed Brazilian squad. And he believes Paqueta is going to be key to that Brazilian squad, and they need him. I think the last few games that they played, they haven't won. So he's a player that is very much up for, sort of boosting the chances of Brazil, getting through to the World Cup qualifiers and all that sort of stuff. And at this moment in time, there was conflicting stories that came out that seemed to suggest because Brazil had called him back into the squad that everything was over. And apparently there was some article in some social media outlet that said it's all over, Paqueta's fine, and etc. etc. But as someone has pointed out in the chat, it's been confirmed that the FA have turned around and said it's not over yet. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the agents. They want the FA, as I said, to actually push through a decision. They want the FA to make a decision soon, or they're going to take them to task. There's kind of legal threats and all that sort of stuff. So the FA really have got to come up with a decision soon. Now, look, whilst it could take another 8 or 9 months, by the way, if you look at other betting issues against players, they've taken like 18 months, something like that. Now, it's only been, by the summer, it would only have been 12 months. And if it goes on any longer, another 3, 4, 5 months on top, then this summer's transfer window will come and go, and Paqueta will still be a player for West Ham. So, of course, we don't want the betting scandal to be over. But, in fairness to the player, I do wonder, to be honest, whether Paqueta will leave. I guess it will all depend on what happens at the end of the season, where we are. Will we win the Europa League and make Champions League? Will he decide, well, why not? Why not stay with West Ham United? Good squad of players here. If we can add to it, then why not stay? It's going to be interesting. Of course, everybody wants to play Champions League football for the biggest teams in Europe and all that sort of stuff. But if we can get there, I mean, we'll be heavily reliant on him to actually lead the way in the Champions League. All right, I'm dreaming. But that's what's going to happen. So at this moment in time, unfortunately, unfortunately for the player, the betting allegations have not gone away. The FA have denied that they've dropped the investigation. So we're going to see what happens. And I suspect, given that Paqueta's agents are pushing for a conclusion sooner rather than later, that the FA might have to make a move on this. And it won't surprise me one bit if they decide to make a move before the transfer window opens. So watch this space. Right, let's go into your chat again. Black Country. I'll start again. Pac-Man investigations is still ongoing. Might run into next season. There you go. Thank you. Brian, no apologies needed. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. You did win. I'm guessing that you won. I don't even know if it was 17 minutes past, but look, if it makes you happy, Aaron, you won. Good evening to you, Ryan, from the Lee family, watching your show before the kids go to bed. Bring on Freiburg Thursday. Thank you for watching. Really much appreciated. A family show. That means I'm not allowed to swear. But thank you, Ryan. Much appreciated. Good evening to you, Jackie. How are you? Thank you. Really appreciate that. Bedfordshire Hammer. How are you, mate? All good. Thank you. Really appreciated. Good evening to you, Tyrone. David saving himself. Return of the Moyes for the cup. I mean, I don't want to make that. We've had so many Moyes in, Moyes out debates on this channel and all around the globe. Apparently now it's spread to the Everton fans. It's quite interesting that some Everton fans have actually gotten in on the act. And, some of them are saying, oh, bring back Moyes. There was a post, wasn't there, on Twitter, X or whatever it's called now, talking about, things haven't been the same since Moyes has left. And it's rather ironic, and then there are Everton fans that are saying never again, don't want him back, etc. So it's spread. We've spread this whole Moyes in, Moyes out debate. Matt B, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Finn. Any Freiburg Red Light District recommendation still? I don't do that sort of thing. How dare you? Good evening, Dean. I hope you're well. Sending best wishes. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. Good evening to you, David. I hope you're well. And good evening to you, Daniela. How are you? Black Country. I might as well I might as well tell you, Stel, I've become a first-time grandfather a few days ago. It comes to us all at some time. Congratulations. I think I'm far too young to become a granddad, but then I'm deluded. Lee, hi, Stel chat. Hope great day. Hit the like, but thank you very much. We're massive over land and sea. Lee, you're always welcome, mate. Thank you for that. Good evening to you, V9. Moyes out. Low block against big teams won't work. There had to be one of you, didn't you? Didn't there? Good evening, Hammers Mikey. I hope you're well. Yeah, congratulations, Black Country. Good evening to you, NWO. How are you? I hope you're well too. Funky T, how are you, mate? Just 2 points behind Manure. Absolutely. Could we go top 6? Why not? I think the next game, I think we're playing Burnley at home, and Man United have got I don't know, Arsenal, I think. They haven't got an easy game. Barry, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Devonshire more like 100 mil. Yeah, I wouldn't deny that. I think he's superb. Imagine what he'd be like now. Imagine what he used to do on the pitches out there in the 70s, 80s, etc., all bumpy and all that, mud baths and so on. Imagine what he'd be like on the pitches that the players are playing on now. Graham, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. David, watching our score 6 again against a really poor team. We should never lose 6 with our team. I agree. We should never have lost 6 against them. Steve, good evening, mate. How are you? Richard, Devo, my favourite player and growing up, likewise. Definitely worth more than 60 million in today's money. Delton, good evening to you. No, mate, you've missed absolutely nothing. I've just done the Paqueta thing, and that's all. That's been it. Clive, any truth that McDonald's buying West Ham will change the kit to red with yellow sleeves? You heard it here first. No truth at all. Dean, Areola's my favourite keeper since Ludo and Parksy. The bloke was magnificent on Saturday, has been all season. He's Hammer of the Year, isn't he? He's Hammer of the Year. Good evening, Hammerette. I hope you're well. Thank you very much. James, good evening, mate. I love catching up with your updates. Thank you very much. I think the beers are in full flow. Mate, you know what? I didn't do it justice because I said I'd come back. When we were walking the rain, it was pissing down with rain. And we were walking back and Wiggy kept saying, put the phone down, you know, you're gonna get it soaked and all that. And I said I would, and I didn't do a proper review. And when we were on the train, I did one and I was talking really low and I listened to it back. Pointless. I couldn't even hear myself. So yeah. I feel bad, but I'm going to do a little update about the game, how I saw it since then. Good evening to you, Acid Joke. As long as we sell a couple of youth team graduates for a couple of mil every couple of years, the academy pays for itself. Very true. Youth players don't necessarily have to make the first team. Very true as well. And that is, as I've said before, that's part of the project that we believe Steinen is going to be looking at doing. Not only bringing in youth for the first team, but also we've been actually doing this for quite a while now, looking around the globe and looking for young players that we think potentially have got potential. Not always, as you've rightly said, to actually go into the first team, but maybe to make a profit on them as well. Chelsea have done it successfully. Man City have done it successfully. So why not us? So let's not expect every youth player to come in. I think Luizão, for example, that we got from Brazil, there's been a lot of interest. Clubs wanted to buy him in the January transfer window, and we didn't want to sell him. Now we got him for under £1 million, I think, and it's quite possible we might make, you know, another £1 million on top, something like that. And why not? It's a business, isn't it? Like it or not. Aaron, I don't want it. Can't stand watching Moyes football. I'm counting down the days till he's gone. Yeah, I understand. And I have said, I even admitted myself, look, it's until the end of the season. You know, I really don't think he's going to stay on. I think unless we win Europa and get into the Champions League, then you're going to have to ask yourself, what then? The board are going to have a big decision to make, aren't they, Lee? Sheffield United must be crap. They're losing 6-0 to Arsenal. What a poor... Who would lose 6-0 to Arsenal, eh? Disgusting. Usual. Southend play Wildstone tomorrow. If the Raiders want some, he's going to... It's that guy on YouTube, isn't it? The True Culture. Malala for your stream for once. You haven't missed anything, True Culture, and welcome. Football with Brownie. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. It was a great win. Look, the performance wasn't brilliant, but at the end of the day, if you walk away with a win, you've got to be happy, haven't you? Delton, should JWP be dropped on Thursday instead of Calvin? I've got a theory, and I'll come to that in a minute, so you're going to have to hang on. 170 people and only, 240 people, only 39 likes. So hit that like button because I'm shit at doing that. Do hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything to listen to me waffle on. And also hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next going to waffle on. Hammers Mikey, good evening to you. 2 good results since late December, and some fans are mentally over Moyes. Mind boggles on a positive comment. What a goal from traffic cone Souček. He has been Moyes all along. I mean, look, of course, we're not going to forget the poor January and most of February for the performances that we put in. They were terrible. They were abysmal. Absolutely. But look, we scored 4 goals against Brentford last week. We still need to tighten up at the back, though, conceding 2 goals. We could have conceded more. And going away to Everton or any club and scoring 3 goals away, you've got to say, and the Souček goal, who thought he had it in him? Absolutely super. We were on the side and we could see the way he actually caught the ball with the outside of his foot. Absolutely superb. Excuse me. Thomas, quite a few walked out after 13 minutes. They're getting smashed. Oh, imagine walking out of a game, when it's not even halfway through. Jackie, I'm here at 9:27. I missed 10 minutes. You didn't miss anything. Trust me. Flemmer, I've spent 10 minutes saying hello to people. 2 wins, yes, but we played crap against Everton and people think Moyes is God. Moyes' tactics never will change and Moyes out. Adam, good evening to you, mate. Hope you're well too. Who else have we got in here? Anthos, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Troj. How are you? And good evening to Moysaurus. Moyes is a tactical genius. The last 2 games prove it. There you go. Jeffrey, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Obsidian, how are you, mate? Of course I was on time. Like I said, you're always late. You lot are always early. Hustle, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Flimmer, Souček come on Sunday at the Bowlen pub. Told him thanks for the goal, but what's going on? He asked Moyes and I got the answer. What was the answer? Tell me. James, people who still insist upon posting a Moyes out with their comments must be fun at parties. Everyone's got an opinion, I guess, mate. Bowlane Lounge. All this Moyes in, out after 3 wins, losses is crap. He's here till June. He is here till June. He's not going anywhere until the end of the season. And then we're going to have to wait and see what happens then. I think it just depends on our final standings, whether he's here longer. It also depends on other things as well. Like I can't remember now when I did the show and talked about how the board want Moyes to stay. I mean, that's undeniable. If people tell you otherwise, then I'm afraid they're not telling you the whole truth. But it's undeniable that the board want Moyes, but it looks like they want him in a different capacity to what he's at now. And that's the whole thing about, starting taking more control of transfers and so on and so forth. Obsidian. The FA can't even control what happens on the pitch. What chance do they stand off it? Very true. Hammers Mikey, I've been a big critic of Souček. Another manager could bring him back to the way he was in that first season. He's on 9 goals. He may be on double figures. He's almost back to the way he was. He's never gonna be the most flair player that we've ever had. But he's a trooper, isn't he? Troj, maybe Souček being dropped and giving him a rest helped. You know what? That is a really good point, because every time Souček is dropped to the bench, when he comes back, he almost as if he's chomping at the bit. That's a really good point, Troj. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Victor, good evening to you, mate. Moyes staying will depend on what's in his new contract and whether he has lost his power to have a full say on player recruitment. I agree. Happy Hammer, good evening to you. You're not late at all. Good evening to you. And going back to that, Victor, I know people are saying that Moyes, if Moyes stays, he's got absolutely no say at all in transfers. It doesn't work that way. Even if you're a coach of a team, yes, there'll be a structure, a strategy to recruiting players, but a manager or a coach is still going to have some input as to what type of players he may want. So perhaps instead of Moyes turning around and going, I want Premier League proven players only and nothing else, he might be told, look, what do you need? I need a left winger. Okay, what sort of style do you want? I need someone that does this, that, and the other. All right. And then the club go out and find a player that suits Moyes' needs. Now, there's an input from the coach there. He doesn't necessarily go and choose the player he wants, but there's an input. But then the reason why there's another conundrum to all this is, let's say for argument's sake, David Moyes stays. Okay. He signs a new contract as a coach. Okay. He has no say in player purchases. Okay. And then when it comes to all these players coming in, so Steiden and his team, his brother, and Maximilian Hahn, the data analyst, and all the other scouts, etc., they go to David Moyes. There you go. There's 5 players there. You know, that's your new part of your new squad. Now, David Moyes will coach the team. He's not going to be told you've got to play those 5 players. He could just turn around and go, thanks very much. I'll use the ones I've still got. I mean, he'll still have control over the team selection. You won't get Steiden choosing the team or any of the other coaches. That's why I think this is a bit of a conundrum. This, a bit of, will he have say in player purchases? I think yes. Will he have as much say as he currently has? No, probably not. It'd be quite different. But when it comes to, if Steinen says to Moyes, here's the 5 players you wanted, the style of footballers that you wanted, Moyes doesn't have to necessarily play them. He can just sit them on the bench and wouldn't give a toss, would he? That's why it's a little bit confused, this whole thing about, oh, he'll have no say, etc., etc. I'm not so sure. Let's scroll down. Ryan, good evening to you, mates. Areola has had to make more saves than the Luton keeper, and I've said, yeah, some of our stats are not great, to be quite honest with you. Some of our stats suggest that we're playing relegation-style football, or we should be. If it weren't for Areola, God knows how many less points we would have had. And you're absolutely right. I mean, but for me, Ryan, a keeper is there to make the saves. But for me, it's more about the defense. Our defense is shaky, really, really shaky, especially central defensive, the 2 centre backs. I still think, to be quite honest with you, even though he's a little bit old, I still think Ogbonna and Mavropanos, I think they've got the best geo stats this season. When you've had Zuma and Gerd, I think they've let in most goals. We've been the leakiest defence with those 2 there. I think with Mavropanos and Zuma, it's slightly better. I don't know if we got stats with Zuma and Ogbonna. Of course, you wouldn't put them together because they're both a little bit too slow. We'll get absolutely annihilated. But with Mavropanos and Ogbonna, maybe, who knows? That might be the way forward until the end of the season. Good evening to you, Joe. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Adam. It's not about good or bad. I'm happy where we are and what we've won, but I'm happy with some performances we should be winning when we and sometimes we don't show up. That's a good point. Robert, Stella, found £2 in a betting account I have and was looking for a horse to back and found Spice Rum. Put the bell in it. Fantastic. Well done, mate. Chumpo, good evening to you. Moyes is West Ham's best ever leader. Thank you very much. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Dexter, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Fancy seeing me on your review after the game. Looking forward to Thursday now. Fantastic. Thanks for doing that, Dexter, as well. Come on, we see you do. If you see me do another review, just jump on again and have your say. Good evening, Andu. Jordan, no VAR, SOS, and a win last week. Did last week really happen? No VAR. Last week indeed happened, mate. Bezel, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got there? Okay, let's go into the next part of the show. And let's talk about the game that's coming up, which, of course, is Freiburg. Now, nothing is ever easy. Oh, hang on a minute. Have I got a little video for you? Let's see. See, that video allows me to have a drink. So anyway, Freiburg's coming up. We're, finally back in Europe, a European tour. We'll continue this coming Thursday when we play Freiburg away from home. Now, isn't it fitting, really, that it was Freiburg that we actually got in the draw? For me, it was going to be one of 2. It was either going to be Freiburg or it was going to be Karabag. Now, to be quite honest with you, with all the news that has broken out about what's happening in Germany at the moment, and not a war or anything, don't worry, but with all the news that's happening in Germany at the moment, I think many fans would have kind of wished we were actually going to Karabag because it sounds an awful lot easier to get to and back. Because we've sold out the 2,230 tickets that we were allocated. It went down to 15 points, club points. But unfortunately, Lufthansa announced a strike that will start from Wednesday through till Saturday. All the ground staff, etc., at the airports and so on. So if you're flying with Lufthansa, you might want to look and see if there's an alternative flight. And then just to add to the misery, of course, the trains, the railways are on strike as well. And they're going to go on strike from Thursday, early hours of Thursday through to Saturday as well. So, I mean, me and my mates, Wiggy and Paul, we're traveling from London through to Zurich. And we had a train book for the following day. We're going out tomorrow night. We had a train book for the following day. Everything was hunky-dory. And now we've had to scrabble around. Oh, no, we're getting there okay, but it's getting back. And then come Friday, we're all right going there. But come Friday, when we were going to catch the train back from Freiburg to Zurich, we've had to change the plans. And we booked a coach. Thankfully, we managed to get some seats on what seemed to be one of the last few coaches getting us back to Zurich, to the airport in time. But I feel sorry for people that are going out from Geneva, and maybe Basel might not be too bad, but Geneva and even Frankfurt and other airports in Germany, you know, you can get there. It's not going to be a problem getting to Freiburg. It's going to be a problem getting out. And it's, I mean, you know, it's so typical that, you know, it can only happen at a time when we're playing away. I mean, we had it, you know, we were banned in the first, when we're in the group stages from going to Freiburg, because we were serving a 1-game ban for the trouble that we had in the final last season. And now some fans are unlucky enough to probably not be able to make the game, even though they've got tickets and everything. What a shame. What a shame. But look, the game itself, I mean, you know, it's at the Europa Park Stadion, capacity of nearly 35,000. Freiburg, not doing that great at the moment. They currently lie 9th in the Bundesliga. Since last time, they've dropped one place down. But if you look at the last half a dozen games between West Ham and Freiburg, they're doing almost as bad as we are. Look, West Ham United, look, we've won our last 2 games, but we lost our previous 3, and then we drew 1. Whereas Freiburg, they drew their last game, lost 2, and drew another 2. Now, of course, the game everyone's talking about is at the weekend when they drew against Bayern Munich 2-2. Look, do I think they're a force to be reckoned with? I think certainly we don't take them lightly. Because even though we beat them twice, 2-1 at their ground and 2-0, when it was quite a weird game, the home game against Freiburg, didn't look like they could be bothered, to be quite honest with you. It looked like they were quite lackluster. But I don't think they're a team that we should be dismissive of. Personally, I don't want to tempt fate, but personally, I do actually think we're going to beat them over the 2 legs. I think we're going to get through to the last 8. What happens thereafter is anyone's guess, because my thinking is, or my hope is, that if we do get through to the last 8, then all the bigger teams like Bayer Leverkusen will draw Liverpool, and Roma will draw Milan, and all that sort of stuff. And we'll end up with either Karabag or Benfica, or a team that we're going to have a good chance against. But sooner or later, you know, if you're going to win this competition, you are going to have to face some of the bigger teams. But they're a team that I think, you know, we should be a little bit careful about. Their top goal scorer is still Vincenzo Grifo. I think he was an Italian international. I don't know if he still is. And he's on 11 goals. But he's not the one that scored against us, was he? It was winger Roland Salai, who's on 8 goals, who scored against us in the game at their grounds earlier in the season. He's on 8 points, so he's another player to look out for. Plus their striker on 8 goals as well, Michael Gregoritz. So they've got 1 or 2 players, but they're kind of reliant on Vincenzo Grifo mainly to actually get their goals. And for us, I mean, we've got an array of players. We've got Kudus, we've got Bowen, we've got Paqueta, who can all score goals. We've got Souček, who could probably get another worldie just for the sake of it. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a tight game. But the interesting thing is going to be who David Moyes decides to pick. Now, look, these are the players that do not play regular Premier League football at the moment. So obviously Fabianski in goal. We've got Ben Johnson, who's kind of in and out of the team. Gerd has recently lost his place. Ogbonna, as we know, doesn't really play Premier League games. Aaron Creswell, another player that doesn't necessarily start, with Calvin Phillips in the centre. Again, you know, in and out, you know, probably as the season goes on, he'll probably be more a first team regular in the Premier League. But for now, I think he's one that could be considered. And then, of course, Antonio and Mubama up front. Now, with those in mind, who do I think Moyes is going to pick? Well, the possible lineup, it could be an array. Look, it could be, we've got Cornet, of course, who apparently is still injured. So Fabianski in goal, I think that's dead cert. I think Ben Johnson is very likely to start on the right-hand side. And then we have what's going on in the centre of that defence. Now, a Gerd, Ogbonna, possibly. We've seen a Gerd play on the right side of central defence for Morocco several times over. So it's not an alien position for him. I'm not so sure. But certainly Kurt Zuma ain't going to start. I doubt it very much. So it could possibly be a Gerd and Mavropanos. But at this moment in time, I'm going for a Gerd and Ogbonna. And out on the left, quite possibly, because he's not playing regular first team football, quite possibly Creswell. And then I think Phillips will start in the centre of the park. And then you've got choices. Moyes, then this is where we're going to come unstuck a little bit, with regards to the squad size that we've got. Because unfortunately, I really, really hope it doesn't come back to bite us that we didn't get any more players than Calvin Phillips in, and we only got, and we allowed Fornals and Benrahma to leave to other clubs. And I hope it doesn't come back to bite us. But, we haven't got a lot of choices up front. Now, I put Ings in there. I'm not so sure with Paqueta and Bowen either side and Antonio up front. I think Antonio will actually start. I think some of the dead certs is Fabianski will definitely start. I think Calvin Phillips will almost definitely start. And I think Antonio will start, and Ben Johnson. Those players, I think, will definitely start. And then you can take your pick with some of the other players. So I'm thinking it's possible, given that some of these players have not been playing regularly, it's possible that Moyes can go out with something like that, with Bowen and Paqueta either side of Ings, with Antonio up front. And then, of course, he's got Souček as his lucky charm. He never seems to drop him. So maybe if it's not going to be Ings, then possibly Thomas Souček might be instead of Ings. And then on the right-hand side, Kudus, so he can rest Jared Bowen for the league game coming up against Burnley. So he's got that option as well. I think the back four, you could change it with maybe Emerson, who's got a much better understanding with Paqueta out on the left side. So maybe a couple of changes there. But the strongest team that he could possibly put out is something like this, with, again, Fabianski in goal. I've left it with a Gerd and Ogbonna, as well as Ben Johnson on the right, keeping Emerson, keeping Phillips, and then you could go with our three, best attacking players, with Bowen, Kudus, and Paqueta, with Antonio up front. That could be the strongest team that he could put out. Now, he'll end up resting the likes of Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, Zuma, of course, Soufal, Areola, and Souček. He could rest all those players for the game coming up against Burnley at the weekend. But of course, it's the fear, isn't it? Any of these players get injured, then you come unstuck. And this is why I was a little bit disappointed, well, more than a little bit disappointed with our transfer window. I said it so many times before. I hope we don't do what we did 2 years ago. And I think we found ourselves now that we're in the same position as we were 2 years ago. As I said before, 2 years ago, we just didn't buy any players in the January window. Whereas this time round, we bought Calvin Phillips in, but we let kind of far too many go. So this could be the strongest lineup, taking, and then you've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 5 players rested for the upcoming game against Burnley. The 5 players or 6 players is Areola, Soufal, Mavropanos, Zuma, Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, 7 players, and Souček. So you can rest 7 players that almost definitely will start at the weekend against Burnley, but it's up front, isn't it? So where we've got cover in goal, where we've got cover in defence, where we've got cover in kind of holding midfield, we're okay. But then when you look further forward, and that's where we come a little bit. We could have done with just one extra player, a left-sided winger that we were all sort of shouting out for, because that would have made a massive difference. So I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little bit torn as to what David Moyes will do. He can either go with a team like this, with the likes of Creswell in it, the likes of Danny Ings and Antonio and Phillips, or he could sort of go with a bit of a halfway house, rest 1 or 2 players like Bowen, and put Kudus on the right, put Souček in the middle, Paqueta with Antonio up front and bring Emerson back in. Or he could go, he could go even more full strength. But if you've got Ben Johnson on the right instead of Soufal, I think that's okay. Soufal's been superb lately. He's, sort of picked up form. But Ben Johnson's been decent. Calvin Phillips, I think he can do a job. I've said before, I don't think it's necessarily that bad a purchase for us. So Calvin Phillips being in there would be all right. Gives Alvarez a rest. And then, but if you've got these players up front, Kudus, Paqueta and Bowen, you're certainly going to be strong. But then there's the fear, isn't there? If one of those players gets injured or more than one, then what when it comes to the weekend game? So you take your pick. I can't really decide. My mind keeps, I think for certain players, like I said, Fabianski, Ben Johnson, absolutely. I think Agurd will play, absolutely. I think Antonio will play, absolutely. I think Phillips will play. And then the rest of that lineup, you can almost take your pick. It's going to be quite interesting, but it kind of leaves us, it's such a shame, isn't it? Because it kind of leaves us a little bit shorter, than we wanted. We only needed really one more player, one attacking player out on the left. I know there's a whole thing with Ibrahim Osman, who's now going to go to Brighton. I don't necessarily think I've still got I would like to see how he fares when he comes to Brighton next season. But I'm not necessarily sure that would have been the right answer. But even just to get anyone on loan, just someone on loan who plays attacking left side, to give us the option when it comes to these games, to be able to, not worry about having to use your best players, to try and play on Thursday and then again on the Sunday. Because then we've got the following, let's say we don't get a positive result this coming Thursday. Then we got Burnley on Sunday. Then we've got it all to do against Freiburg the following Thursday as well. So what we'd like to do is go out there and get a decent performance in and hopefully nick it, get a decent win, come back to our ground where we're sort of maybe a goal or two up would be really nice. But Freiburg is not going to be easy. I think we can't take them with a pinch of salt. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be quite formidable. They're going to go for it. I still don't understand why they came to our ground and they played in such a lackluster way in the final game of the group stages. But I don't think they're going to be anything like that when we play them this coming Thursday. But anyway, all of those of you who are going out there, safe journey over there. I hope you can sort out the rigmarole with airports and getting back appropriately to your airports to get home. But I'm looking forward to it. Of course, we're going to do videos when we go out there. Wiggy will be back. He's got a new belt, I think. So that's you won't see his underpants or anything like that. So I'll definitely do videos while I'm out there. So looking forward to that. Right. What about some other roundups? Well, let's do a quick, brief roundup, shall we? West Ham United women's team roared back to secure a 1-1 draw at the weekend against Man United at the Chigwell Construction Stadium. It was Man United who opened the score, taking advantage of a mistake when we tried to play ourselves out of trouble. But West Ham responded well in the second half, and we found a deserved equaliser through Vivian Asai, lifting the ball over their goalkeeper 5 minutes from time. So well done to them. That gives us a 6-point breathing space above bottom of the table side, Bristol City, but we're still second from bottom. So next up for the women's team is an away league game against 5th place Liverpool on the 17th of March. Doesn't come any easier, does it? Under 21s came back from behind to defeat Blackburn Rovers 3-1. And stay second in Premier League 2 on Saturday afternoon. First half goals from central defender Luzal and midfielder Lewis Orford overturned Blackburn's opener. And we battled and then we got a third goal through a stoppage time free kick through George Earthy. Well done. Now, the Hammers moved to 1 point away from league leaders, Tottenham Hotspur, who lost against Everton at the weekend. So there's an opportunity to go above Spurs this coming Friday. We both play on Friday. We've got Fulham at home and Spurs face third place Arsenal away from home. A win for West Ham will take us 2 points clear, but Spurs do have 2 games in hand over us. How about some... I'll do that in a minute. Under 18s have got a game on Tuesday when they are away to Norwich at 1:30 kickoff tomorrow. A win will keep us at the top of the table, but we've got Chelsea on our shirt tails. They've got 3 games in hand and only 3 points behind. So if we win our game tomorrow, that will take us a little bit further away from Chelsea. How about some loan news? Well, Downs, I've forgotten his name. Flynn Downs has returned to action for Southampton at the weekend, making his first appearance in 3 weeks. He played 84 minutes for Russell Martin's side, who came from behind twice to edge Birmingham City in a 7-goal thriller in the Championship. Birmingham went a goal ahead inside 2 minutes before Southampton equalised, only for Birmingham to get to go ahead again. Southampton equalised again with and also went a goal ahead soon after Birmingham had a player sent off. But they still managed to get level for the again. It went to 3-3, and Southampton scored in the 96th minute a winner. Now that win for Southampton keeps them 4th in the table, 3 points behind third place Leeds United, and 8 behind Leicester. So it's quite tight in the Championship. But Flynn Downs is doing an absolutely superb job for Southampton. He's been their top player throughout the season. I think the stats are demonstrating that Flynn Downs is the best, or if not one of the best midfielders in the Championship. I still think he's got a role to play at West Ham. I really do. And he did an interview last week, Flynn Downs, to talk about why he wanted first-team football. And when he realised that we were going in for James Ward-Prowse, he asked to actually go out on loan. He didn't want to be sold. He wanted to go out on loan because he wanted to play first-team football. Fair play to the boy. You know, it's such a shame because I think the way things have gone, I think quite possibly Downs might have got quite a bit of game time this season. You know, we've had Alvarez who's missed games because of injury and because of suspensions and so on. And now with all the games coming up in Europe, etc., I think Downs would have got a few more games than maybe he would have imagined. So I want him to come back. I think, you know, here's the irony. David Moyes has always looked for the best players in the past. He's always looked for the best players in the Championship in order to try and attract them to a club like West Ham. Look at Jared Bowen as a prime example. And if you're doing really, really well in the Championship, I've always maintained if you're doing exceptionally well in the Championship, it's quite likely that you're going to do pretty good in the Premier League. You know, not all will, but I think most can do. And I think I really hope Flynn Downs isn't sold at the end of the season. I think it's a little bit up in the air at the moment, but I really hope he comes back and becomes it won't necessarily become a first team regular, but if we've got more, you know, if we're back in Europe, etc., there will be plenty of games to play next season as well. Right, who else? Well, out on loan as well is Freddie Potts. He and Gideon Kodua both came off the bench as Wycombe Wanderers fell to a 4-2 defeat at home to Barnsley, which was a rare defeat for them. But even though Wycombe went 2-1 up, Barnsley sort of rallied round, and a 16-minute spell meant that they won the game 4-2. Other players in the Championship and other leagues, sorry. Dan Chesters for Salford City suffered a home defeat at the hands of Gillingham. Also, Keenan Napai for San, who is almost a little forgotten man. He was one of the players that I was raving about a couple of seasons ago. He plays for Dagenham and Redbridge now on loan, and he helped them to a 3-1 victory over promotion chasing Altrincham. Also in Europe, Thilo Kehrer was involved in AS Monaco's clean sheet against PSG at the weekend. And of course, Saeed Benrahma, who has spent more time dissing West Ham United since he went out on loan, played 76 minutes as Lyon fell to a defeat at home to Lens. And finally, Nathan Trott, who's also been talking about his potential future at West Ham United. At 25 years of age now, he's out on loan for the second season in a row at Vejle in the Danish league. They got a 1-1 creditable 1-1 draw against Bromby at the weekend. Now, let's go back to Saeed Benrahma, shall we? You know, he's been talking about having been liberated and, you know, freed and all that sort of stuff. Look, I'm in two minds about Benrahma because for me, Benrahma was a player that I thought was going to do absolute wonders for West Ham. And it's a shame, really, that it didn't quite work out for him. You know, there were times where he was superb. There were other times where you could just, you know, scratch your head and go, what on earth is going on? He was never consistent. He's not coming back to West Ham. We know he's going to want to make that move to Lyon permanent. And if it's not going to be Lyon, then it'll be another team that's going to come in for him. And it's a shame that quite a contrast between him and Pablo Fornals. Pablo Fornals did a video, you know, thanking the fans and the players and the club and all that sort of stuff. And you could see the genuine upset that he had to leave West Ham United in order to further his career. whereas Pablo Fornals has been spending time talking about being liberated. It's a pity he wasn't. And I know people are going to say, well, David Moyes didn't liberate him on the pitch. But sometimes you just got to look at some players and you got to say, sometimes it's down to you to show how good you really are. And he breathed hot and cold. And the one thing I don't like, given that he hasn't been sold, he's still out on loan. The fact that he's still talking down West Ham, that he's been talking down West Ham United, is not a good thing. Right, before I go into the final part of the show, let's go back into your chat. Happy Hammer, good evening to you. I may have said hello, but I'll say hello again. Good evening to you, Lord Patrick. How are you? I hope you're well. Funky T, any truth in Mbama rumours about his contract and doubts of him staying? Yes. Unfortunately, West Ham United, since the beginning of the season, or since last season, I think, have been trying to get Mbama to sign a new deal, and he hasn't done it. Apparently, his agent believes he's worth Premier League money. I think they want, I don't know. I'm not going to give a figure that it's going to, I'll be guessing. But they want Premier League money. And West Ham United have not offered that. And I've said this before when we spoke about Mbama and all the other players at West Ham, Sonny Perkins and all the other players that have left since. What happens at West Ham? There's a structure in place, a payment structure in place. Ben Johnson has been through that payment structure. Declan Rice went through that payment structure as well, where they start you off. If you're breaking through from the academy into the first team, you get paid, I don't know, something like 20 grand a week or something like that. And then based on your appearances, performances, goals, clean sheets, whatever they may be, you can earn bonuses on top of that, which could take you to a reasonable sum of money each week. 30, 40, 50 grand a week. Christ, I wish I had that sort of bonus every week for my job. And that's what he's been offered. Mbama's been offered slightly better than some of the other young players that have broken through have been offered. But his agent believes that he deserves more. It's really quite interesting. I'm in two minds about Mbama. I was waxing lyrical about him because I remember that, was it the season before last, when everyone was talking about Sonny Perkins being the next big thing, and I kept saying he ain't the next big thing, it's Mbama that is, and I was talking him up, and I'm disappointed that it hasn't come good for him. Again, I know there's going to be fans out there that are going to go, well, Moyes hasn't given him a chance, but you can tell a young, classy player when you see him. I remember when we started to see the likes of Michael Owen and players like that breaking through, and you just felt they've got something. There's something about them that will demonstrate that they're going to be successful at what they do. And all right, Mbama hasn't had that many chances, but I think maybe he's had one good game. I think it was away to Nottingham Forest where he was sort of putting himself about. Was it away to Nottingham Forest? No, it wasn't. Maybe it was home. I can't remember. It was an away game where he came on for about half an hour and he put in a decent performance, but we haven't seen much more of that. And as you can see now, he's not even getting a couple of minutes from the bench. Moyes is sort of reverting to more senior players, etc. So I don't know now, to be honest with you, whether Mbama is good enough for to be at West Ham. It's going to be quite interesting. If his agent thinks that Mbama is really worth the money and he's better off elsewhere, then we'll see where he ends up. Look at what happened with Sonny Perkins. Sonny Perkins went to Leeds United. Leeds United got relegated. Sonny Perkins was loaned out to Oxford, couldn't even get into the Oxford team. I think he's now playing in the reserves back at Leeds. So it doesn't always, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Let's see, what else have we got here? Brian. Saw you on television during the game Saturday. Real quick, but you're crazy how all three goals came from defensive players. Famous? No, doubt it. James Systell, who would you like to see replace Moyes if he does leave? I would like someone like Kieran McKenna. Well, interestingly, I'm writing a little script about the type of manager that I think West Ham United are likely to go for if Moyes doesn't stay on. And I think they're going to have a certain criteria, and so I'll try and do it. When I come back from Freiburg, I'll try and do it, one day next week, because I haven't finished it yet. And there's some names that I just want to double check before I put them out. But McKenna, yeah, good shout. Would we be able to get someone like him? I don't know. Depends on what happens with the club he's at the moment. Trodge, problem is, who would be better than JWP? Phillips? They're a different type of player, aren't they? Phillips is a much more central defensive midfielder. Ward-Prowse is much better when he goes further forward, doesn't he? Anthos, Benny's having a go at Moyes regularly now. Yep, he sure is. Delton, I've never seen Moyes embrace the players like that for a league game. It was very, very different to his how he was at the end of the Brentford game. If you remember, I did a review in the middle of the week where I said Moyes just went straight down the tunnel, didn't even come out to applaud the fans or anything. But he was cock-a-hoop at the weekend, wasn't he? And rightly so. We deserve to win. Well, we deserve to win. We got a good win. Let me put it that way. Ryan, I don't want Moyes to stay, but if he delivers European football again, then as painful as it sounds to say, the board will be justified giving him a new deal. We are in a results-based business. Absolutely. Lee, only 1 in 6 have hit the like button. Come on, people. 302 people watching, which I'm absolutely chuffed about. Like I said earlier on, if you're new to the channel, do please hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. Do hit the like button. It helps me. And do hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm going to rabbit on next time. Lord Patrick, Everton have beaten us more than any other team in the Premier League, and Moyes has our best record against them out of any of our managers. Just saying. You know what? I didn't actually know that. Anthony, Southampton want to make Downs move a permanent deal in the summer. I really hope it doesn't happen. I really do. Hammer's dad. Phillips looks like he's starting to enjoy himself. Finally, he's settled down. Maybe he just felt he had an awful lot to prove and just overdid it. But now, finally settling down, I think that's fantastic. That's really good. Trudge, I'm still waiting till the end of the season, which Moyes has earned, to be honest. He has, look, everything that people have said, we cannot just only focus on the last month and a half where it was poor. Let's talk about the first half of the season, which was excellent. The sort of highest number of goals, highest number of points up to that point and all that sort of stuff. Yes, you could argue some of the games we won were lucky, and because of Areola, we earned more points that maybe we should have done. But then, it is what it is. You ride your luck at times. So I agree with you. Yeah. We do have to wait till the end of the season and see what happens. I do think it is time for him to go. And for me to say that takes quite a lot, because I've always sort of sat on the fence. But I see both sides of things. If you saw one of the shows I did last week about Jamie Carragher, a man I don't normally listen to, but when he talked about Moyes and the situation we're in, it made an awful lot of sense, because he saw both sides of the story, about the success that David Moyes has brought. You can't deny that. He has brought success. But then on the other hand, you've got about the style of football and so on and so forth. And Carragher suggested that style of football is kind of going out of fashion and going out of football. So I get both sides. And I think it's going to be, I think what Moyes has been, what's happened to him with all the criticism he's been getting, especially from the fan base. I think that will hurt. He's a proud man, and that would have hurt. And he'd probably be sitting there wondering, well, why would I stay if I'm not going to be appreciated? So I think he will leave, to be honest with you. Paul, I would have loved to have been at Everton game. I'm 56 now, and by the time I gain enough points to buy away game tickets, I'll be 97. Charles, sorry about that, mate. We need a change of coaching and manager, Charles says. Let's scroll down. Black Country. Moyes won't sign a new contract. He has no control over transfers. Well, I've talked about that already. Anthos, the only capacity of keeping Moyes is left back in the changing room every week. Adam, Stell, is it true about Zuma getting a new contract? If so, it's absolute bollock. People are making things up just to wind everybody up. We know that David Moyes favours certain players, but let's be honest, people. Even I can run faster than Kurt Zuma at the moment. He played actually quite decently at the weekend against Everton, but we've got a leaky defence, and with the greatest of respect, I think Kurt Zuma is one of the problems. I think his knees have just gone. Simple as that. So no. I think that's a bit of rumour mongering, mate. Delton, it was really embarrassing seeing Everton playing us off the park. They look sharper, so what a relief to win. Hail Areola. I don't think they played us off the park. I think they certainly had the better of the second half. But if you look at a lot of the shots that they were, apart from that point blank range that was saved by Zuma, by Areola from Beto? When I think they were 1-0 up. I think all the other shots they had were way out or outside the 18-yard box. Still great saves from Areola, but a lot of their chances were sort of like from long range shots. I don't think they played us off the park, to be honest. But appreciate your view. Hammers Mikey. Worst case scenario, Moyes gets a new contract. Best case scenario, Moyes goes into the jungle next year and is forced to eat camel nuts, etc. I got a feeling you really like Moyes, Mikey, and you're just trying to hide it. E. Davis, what is wrong with this club giving contracts to underperforming and old players? Are we that bad at selling? We have been that bad at selling. Absolutely. I think Declan Rice was one of the best sales we've done in many a year or forever, from what I can remember. I'm trying to think of, we sold, who else did we sell for? One or two. We've been awful at the way we've managed our transfers. But that's another reason why Steinen is here. Hammerstad. How Socek Benton and top corners beyond me. It was an absolutely superb strike. Sharky. I heard the club are looking to buying a new training ground in Basildon. Is there any truth in it? Yes, there is. I was given the story, and because I was doing other things, I completely forgot about it. And when I was told, I said, oh yeah, if I can be, but I actually said, if I can be bothered, I can't even remember where it is. I don't even know if it's in Basildon or not. But yes, you're absolutely right. We're looking at a plot of land. Apparently there's another non-league team that are playing on it at the moment. The land is big enough to have about 5 or 6 training pitches on it. And it's possible that we might, now don't quote me on this, but it's possible that we might, if we do buy this piece of land and develop it, it's possible that we might sell, the other training grounds, Rush Green and all that sort of stuff, because they're prime property sites, so we can sell those bits of land for a hefty profit to a developer and use that money to actually invest in a new state-of-the-art training ground. I can't remember if it's Basildon, Sharky. It probably is, but I was told that story last week. Good point. Tony, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening, James. With the better players, I want to be entertained. I'm grateful for Moyes has given me and fellow Hammers following our club around Europe, ending with Prague. Fresh ideas, new gaffer needed. Yeah, I no longer disagree with that at all. Let's scroll down. Good evening to you, Keith. Kalispero to you, mates. Signomi Agisa. It's okay, mate. You haven't missed anything. We talked about Paquetá and we talked about Europe, and that's been about it. Oh, and the women's football, of course, which I know you love. So sorry about that. Who else have we got? E. Davis. Without Areola, we would be battling. Mavropanos and Agurd need to play together. They don't have to babysit Zuma. I'm not 100% convinced of Agurd. He's lost. He's been off the boil really badly as well. Especially since he's come back from AFCON, and all these rumours that were knocking around during the January transfer window, I'm beginning to think they're true. I think there is a lot of truth in Agurd wanting to leave, and apparently he's chasing the money in the Middle East, and 1 or 2 others might be going there as well. Zuma, ironically, could be another player that might end up playing his football in the Middle East as well. I'm not so sure about Agurd. I think we're going to cash in on Agurd in the summer and keep Mavropanos. Mavropanos still made a mistake. We went 1-0 down, and then he had the ball. He was carrying. And then for some reason, if he just passed it back and mispassed it again to, I think it was Soufal or something, and we were put under pressure again. If he can take that out of his game, I think Mavropanos can become a top central defender for us, but he needs a partner. He needs a left-sided partner. It certainly isn't Agurd, I don't think, anymore. Oggy, just because of his age, and Zuma, no. So I think we're going to invest a decent amount of money in the transfer window on a central defender that's likely to be playing alongside Mavropanos in the future. P-Cads, good evening to you, mate. Still, I'm trying to limit my time on social media, but thank you very much. I really appreciate you. That. Thank you. Steve, that game at the weekend was similar to the one when we won 3-2, up there with Pyatt scoring at the death. Good point. Yeah, there you go. Again, we sort of nicked it there as well. Pyatt, he was one that we made money on, wasn't he? A transfer. Usual. Shamrock Rovers nicked a draw tonight with a very late equaliser. Bohemians lost. Thank you for that, usual. Henry Layton, good evening to you, mate. Please talk about why we're kicking off at 5:45 in the second leg. Because unfortunately, it's got absolutely nothing to do with us. This is UEFA. UEFA make the decisions. And we've got no choice. Yes, we can complain about it, but they're not going to change anything about that. It's really, really, really unfortunate. And I know a lot of fans are really upset. They're upset at the club, but it's not the club's fault. Because when the club was selling tickets in advance, they did say 8 o'clock subject to change or something to that effect. So they did put, sort of a warning that, it's quite possible that UEFA might change the time. 5:45, because, of course, who's playing in the evening? Liverpool are. So what's going to be televised? I don't know if our game's going to be televised. It might be, but you can bet your bottom dollar that the game that is going to be prime time TV is going to be the Liverpool game. It's really frustrating. It's really annoying, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, the club have got nothing to do with it. Adam, what does Moyes see in Zuma? His passing isn't great. His pace is non-existent. And for me, it makes Mavropanos and Agurd nervous as they have to come for him. They do. I agree with that. But Mavropanos has got an error in him. Agurd's got a few errors in him as well. That's not on Zuma, but I totally agree. Playing alongside him doesn't make it easier. I agree with that. L&D Exterior, good evening to you. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope you're well. Baldrick, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. I look nothing like George Michael, you bastard. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Let's try and catch up, shall we? Let's scroll down. Hammer it. Zuma is very good in the air. Absolutely. Awful on the ground. But Mavropanos, unfortunately, complements his lesser assets when on the pitch together. E. Davis. Agurd and Mav both have pace and can pass and carry the ball. It will work. I'd like to think it will. I don't disagree. I think that they're the pairing that I would have liked at the beginning of the season. Absolutely. But something, like I said, something's happened with Agurd. His head's been turned, whatever it may be. But I think we've got to let him go in the summer. Richard, your mate Wiggy reminds me of John Lydon. A very old version of John Lydon. Good evening, Trini. I hope you're well. I'm going to tell him that when I see him next. Adam, I know Zuma is great in the air, but any team knows his weakness, and I'd rather have someone good in the air but with pace as well. Sorry, look, you know, I don't disagree. I think Zuma is done. I think really do think we need to replace him in the summer, even if he stays, whatever. But he can't be a regular starter. Look, picks more than 10. What have I done now? Let me see. You're going to make me count them, aren't you? Yes, you are. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I've lost a player. Thank you for pointing that out. I've lost a player. There you go. Someone, see, I didn't even notice that. I did that a few years ago, didn't I? When I got confused where I had 11 or 12 players. Thank you, Greg. I didn't even notice that. So shame on me. Henry. Moyes won't make changes. Probably Fab, Antonio, Phillips and Agurd. Well, that's enough changes, isn't it? You know, dropping bringing in Fabianski, Antonio, Phillips and Agurd will give 4 regular first-team players a rest. There will be changes. It's up front that I'm more worried about when it comes to the European game. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Hammer it. Can we all take a moment? Thank you. You can read that out. Much appreciated. Trudge. I think it's more fact Antonio relies on power and pace. He can no longer flat track bully opponents. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think when he came on at the weekend, he kind of was all right and he tried to bully his way through, but he doesn't have that power that he used to have. I totally agree with you there. Montana, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Players like Downs are the reason Moyes needs to go. We need a manager that can blend the new with the old. And Andrew Jordan, Flynn could be a future captain somewhere. I like him. I really do. I really do like him. Trudge. And perception is a strange thing. People's views often differ, as they do on this channel. GP, really appreciated. Never ask for it, but thank you so much for that contribution. Really appreciate it. What else have we got here? Epic, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. I can't blame Ben Rama for wanting to get away from Moyes. I get it about Ben Rama wants to move away from Moyes, but also I think Ben Rama's got himself to blame as well. I think Ben Rama has been given more than enough chances throughout his tenure at West Ham United. He's blown hot and cold. He was one of my favourite players when we got him. The first season, I thought he was pretty decent, but he's blown hot and cold, and he's just not been consistent, which is a real shame. Hammer it. Shame we gave Fornals a different job when he was here. Really loved how he brought into West Ham. I totally agree. Trini, Moyes mugged those players off with his limitations. It happened to too many of them for it not to be. I agree with some. I don't just necessarily agree with that. I think with Fornals, absolutely. I think Fornals was a little bit hard done by. Fornals, when Moyes came back for the second time and Fornals was already here, He had to prove himself again. And I think he did that. And I think he went way above and beyond, proving that he was a decent player for West Ham. And I agree with you on Fornals. It kept playing him out on the left, not his favourite position, should have been in the middle, etc. And I agree with you. With Benrahma, I'm not so sure, to be quite honest with you. I think Benrahma had his chances, just didn't do it. Fatakis, good evening to you. Kalispera to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good to see you here. What else have we got? NWO, 20 grand, not enough to play football. Of course it's enough, when you're breaking through from the academy into the first team. But that's the structure West Ham have got in place, and I get it, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, you should pay them what they're worth. Well, you don't know what they're worth until they prove themselves, because if West Ham United started paying, let's say, Sonny Perkins more than 20 grand a week, he didn't work out. And then you'd be going, hang on a minute, I'm paying you 40, 50 grand a week and you're not doing the business. If Mabama was paid more than that and he didn't work out, again, you've got to prove yourself. You've got to prove yourself that you're actually worthy of a 40, 50, 60 grand a week contract. And if you start off 20 grand a week, imagine if I was playing football, if I was good enough to be playing football and the manager said to me, you're breaking from the academy into the first team, you may not get an awful lot of game time, but you're going to get 20 grand a week. I'll be where do I sign? Where do I sign? Unfortunately, agents have an awful lot of sway on young players these days, which is a real shame. Trudge, Mabama first touch needs some work. He's not the finished article, is he? Ryan, if Mabama was good enough, he would have forced his way into the team. It's exactly what I think. I didn't want to say it. I'm glad you did, because I think much the same. E. Davis, Mabama's first touch is light years ahead of Antonio's. Possibly. Sean, how much does Mabama's agent think he'll earn in the League One? He's not even at League One standard yet. This is it. This is such a shame, really. Get on there, sign the contract, get on there, prove that you're worth 40 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand a week. Prove it, before you start demanding it. Mabama is no Owen. Absolutely not. Mikey, good idea to HH, because maybe some of my common sense about Moyes will rub off on him. I don't know who you're talking about, but you've been chatting to her. Trini, this is the main reason I'm Moyes out. His management style is way more harmful than good. He ignores the squad and flogs the few he likes. Dinosaur management. He does, we know this. We know David Moyes has his favourites and he will play. And this is what's going to happen this season as well. I hope it doesn't hurt us. I hope it doesn't come back to bite us. But that's the likelihood. We've got a smaller squad. He's going to keep playing players. And when you look at the squad and you look at, the likes of Ings and Mabama there, and you just think, well, they're not. Cornet, they're not probably going to play as much. And you've gone from 19 outfield players down to 15, 16 outfield players. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. GP, I hide behind a faceless profile as if it still gives me a chance to win. I'm really worried about you, GP. I really am. Hamret, can anyone blame Obama for lacking confidence now? Whether he's good enough or not, we will probably never know. Look, I agree with what was just said. If you're that good, you are going to break into the first team. That's all. I genuinely think that if you're that good. He's a young lad. He wants to forge a career in football. Let's hope he doesn't end up forging a career. So I think Trini might have said it or someone else. Let's hope he doesn't end up forging a career in League One. You can still earn decent money in League One, but he needs to demonstrate that he's hungry and ready for Premier League football. I'm just not sure. I think the worst thing that happened to him is that he didn't go out on loan. I think it would have done him the world of good if he'd have gone out on loan. But the reason why we didn't send him out on loan is because his agent didn't want him to sign a new deal. Lord Patrick, Moyes was putting himself in the window for a return to Everton in the near future. You know what? People were saying not long ago that Moyes will never get another job in the Premier League. I totally dispute that. I think there will be teams, maybe even Everton, there will be teams that would bite his hand off for him to join. It's possible. I think some of the Everton fans were saying on X the other day on tweets, they'd like to get rid of Deitch and bring back Moyes. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but they were talking about how Moyes kept Everton in the top half of the league throughout his tenure. I think there was only one time where they finished in the second half of the league, whereas the rest of the time he was finishing and he took them to Champions League. Hammers Mikey. GP, Until he sees you in real life and realizes you look like the inside of Moyes. Sean, Moyes will be at Celtic come this summer. Yes. Yeah, that's also quite possible. Good evening, Cockney Buccaneer. I hope you're well, mate. The stats don't lie. We're beating 2 crap sides, but still have one of the worst stats in the whole of Europe. He just gets lucky at the right times. He mistreats those not in his first 11. Well, he can't mistreat them anymore because he's going to need them with the small squad that we've got for the rest of this season. Evening, Stephen. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Sean, McKenna has lost very few games in near 2.5 years at Ipswich. They play very attractive football. Look, if they get promoted, is McKenna going to come to West Ham United? I'm not so sure. E. Davis, Moyes has to go. There has been no progress. In fact, it's getting worse. We need to build a modern squad and academy. That's why Tim is here to unite the two. Robin Irons. Ward-Prowse gets knocked off the ball too easy and needs lessons from Kudus and how not to. Good shout, that. Yeah, I agree. Kudus is like a tank, isn't he? A little tank, the way he just shields that ball and moves forward. Keith, usual, Clodo Rogers. By the way, showing your age. Are there, Mucka? Clodo Rogers. Yeah, I remember Clodo Rogers. Do you know who Clodo Rogers is? Cockney, a good manager. Runs the whole club well. Moyes doesn't do that. Man management is awful. So too is arrogance towards the fans. I think he's been knocked down a peg or two over the last few weeks, don't you? Especially from the fans. Dan, more chance of getting me getting a contract than Zuma. I don't, but I know there's a story that went out there, but I don't believe it's true, to be honest with you. Jonathan, lots of articles been coming out. Young players linked with Steiden. Looking forward to seeing our new squad in the new year. In the new season. Going to be interesting to see who we do get. Jerry, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Just watched the annihilation of Sheffield. What was the final score? Are we as bad as them? What was it? Was it 6-0 or was it more than that? Hammerstad, didn't realise how skillful Alvarez was till this week. He's amazing. Superb player. Absolutely superb. And I don't want to say it, but I will say it. And I said in the summer, if we needed anything, we needed a central defensive midfielder to change the team. And he is super. His value's gone up to what? 50, 60 million, maybe? Matthew, good evening to you. So from a business perspective, how long can we continue to play at the London Stadium? Until they, unless the place literally does completely fall down, we're there for good. We're there for however long the contract the contract is there for. Are you referring to something that I'm not aware of? Give me another note so I can read it out. NWO. I've entered the dark lands of Las Vegas in my youth. What I saw there scared me for life. I've got no clue what you're talking about, but carry on. Jerry, we don't want any more flats in Romford and Rush Green. I hope they keep the training ground. You probably not, but apparently it's prime development land there, isn't it? But it was a story. It was an interesting story that I was saying. I wish I'd done more about that now. Trini, our centre backs would work better further up the pitch, so their passing is so long and hit and hope. So their passing is not long, hit and hope. We set up from the edge of our area. We do, but look, Zuma, every time he goes any further forward than the 18-yard box, he gets caught out, doesn't he? He doesn't have the ability to get back. Ryan, raging about 5:45. I'm in London for one night's work and still can't get there in time. It's not great. It's not great. Jerry, nothing to do with diversity. It's the size of the local hospital and lack of GP appointments. Does everything come down to that? I've lost you, mate. I'm sorry. I know you're probably replying to something else, but I don't know what you're replying to. 50 pence. Good evening to you. Do we still need to drop Zuma and Souček? I'd still drop Zuma. I've never been one to say we should drop Souček. I think Souček should be a squad player like most others, but he will start more often than he get dropped. But Zuma, yes, I do think Zuma needs to be dropped, to be quite honest with you. Trini, Agerd does not like the low block football. Can't blame him for that, to be fair. Maybe not, but he's got a job to do and he should be doing it as well as he can. I don't know, Trini. You don't just down tools just because you're not happy with what your boss tells you, do you? Or you say, I don't, if I don't want to be here, I want to leave. And I think that's what will happen with him in the summer. Jonathan, no one should be let go, Agerd or anyone else, until our new manager has had a look at him. Yeah, fair play. Good point. Adam, Still, Matt didn't look for that pass. He told Soufal to move up, and Soufal was hanging behind. And that Soufal problem, he has to be defensive-minded. Mavropanos didn't look for that pass. He told Su. Yeah, but he fluffed it though, mate, Adam. You know, it kind of almost like it hit the back of his leg. Make it happen. That channel running is lost. Mate, you know, I'm not going to talk about other channels. I don't want to get in trouble. Everyone has got a different approach. I don't agree with it, but you know, there's a lot of people that watch it. Sean, Centro Americano for weed if you're that way inclined. Happy. Sean, are you promoting drugs on my channel? Victor, we could need 3 new centre halves in the summer. A Gerd wants out, Ogbonna too old, and Zuma's knees are knackered. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, I actually do agree with you there. DJR, good evening to you. Being a fan only a short time. I live in Prague, so you can guess from when. You're a fickle bunch, though. Moyes is statistically your best manager ever, but you love to hate him. Go check Hammer. Well, not on this channel. We try and be balanced, but thank you for joining, and thank you for watching, and thank you for commenting. Nigel, good evening to you. Yes, that's the in place. Joe is the landlady. I go there a lot. I love the way you all have your own conversations going on. I love that. But I read them out and I'm going, what on earth is all that about? Amrit, I really hate the saying flip-flop. Why can't people change their choices they made? It's natural to do so. Absolutely. You are absolutely right to be able to change your mind about anything in life, whether it be football or what, anything. You know, you've got an absolute right to do that. No one should tell you otherwise. Jonathan, why is it not formal, proper position? Why is it not formal, proper position on the left? And it's also not Benrahma as not a left winger. He's a number 10. Well, if you remember me saying some years ago, we had more number 10s than you could shake a stick at. Fornals was a number 10. Paqueta's a number 10. Benrahma was a number 10. Quite a lot of players that we had in the team over the last couple of seasons have been an awful lot of number 10s. That's why I was really hoping that come this January transfer window, we were going to go and get ourselves a left-sided attacking player. And I'm disappointed that we didn't. Ray, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. I hope you enjoy. Always enjoy it, especially when we win. They've got so many boarded up houses that window cleaner has a sand. Oh, mate. Jonathan, funny how Mabama wants game time, goes 0 service and route into the team. Then when we don't sign extension, it's they want too much money. No, mate. I'm not. You know, it is what it is. You know, if you ask anybody, this is exactly what's happening. His agent is leading the charge on this. It's not even Mabama. I think if you just went, what David Sullivan wanted to do, he wanted to have a conversation directly with Mabama. His agent stopped him to do that. Look, the club have got a structure, a pay structure, especially for when players are coming through the academy. It should be no different. Declan Rice did it, and Declan Rice is now earning what? 200-300 grand a week or whatever he's earning, because he's earned the right to do that, because he's demonstrated he was good enough to stay in the team. He started on 20 grand a week. Ben Johnson started on 20 grand a week. What is it that I'm seeing in someone like Mabama who will demand double that? I'm sorry, mate, but it is what it is. And I think, you know, if a player is hungry enough, if a young player is hungry enough, he'll come in and he'll demonstrate that he's good enough and then demand that big pay increase. Absolutely. Don't deny him that afterwards. Trini, any other manager would give the young players actual meaningful game time, see if they can fit in. They don't feel included. Look, I'm going to be really honest here. If we've got some really, really outstanding academy players that I've not heard of, tell me who they are. Because at this moment in time, I think our best academy players are out on loan. I think Freddie Potts is out on loan at Wycombe Wanderers. I think he'll probably come good. I know Flynn Downs is not an academy player, but he's young enough. He'll probably come good. And also, who we've just loaned out to West Bromwich Albion, is his name's completely gone. The young lad, the young Irish lad that we've just loaned out. You know, and I think he'll probably come good as well. And I'm looking at the current crop of academy players that we've got. We've got to remember there's an awful lot. The really good crop at the moment, last season were playing under 18s. That most of them now migrated to the under 21s. They've only had a season, not even a whole season of playing under 21s level football, but one or two of them will break through. the likes of George Earthy, the likes of Ollie Scarles, the likes of Caelan Casey, central defender, etc. There are a few players that could put Gideon Kodua, who I think is a fantastic player, who was the under-18s captain last season and went into the under-21s along with several others. You've got to remember, they've only just gone from under-18s football through to under-21s football now. Some of them are still keeping that level of consistency that they played in under-18s in the under-21s. I do think we'll get one or two through. Do I think any of them are good enough at this moment in time for the senior team? Honestly, no, I don't. And I know you're going to throw, if Klopp can do it with Liverpool, etc., etc. But they've got all-round better players. So when you bring a player on with the all-round better player, they've got a better 11 than we have. We've got a lot of very good players, half a dozen really good players, and we've got some that we're carrying. We know that. And if you bring a youngster in and he doesn't do well, that's only going to hurt his, his development even more. At this moment in time, I genuinely don't think we've got a good enough. I thought Mubama was the answer. I really did. I thought Mubama was the player that was going to break through this season. And I know you're saying he didn't get enough game time or being played in the right way or supported, etc. But if you're special in a footballing sense, then you will demonstrate that. And unfortunately, I've not seen that. Does it mean that none of our development players will break through? No, it doesn't mean that. I think they will. I think we will get one or two. But we all think we're going to get half a dozen development players coming through and playing for the first team. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't happen. I think we will get, whether it's going to be through Moyes or not. Ironically, a lot of people criticize Moyes about, he doesn't care about the youth, etc. He watches them as regularly as he can. He keeps an eye on them as regularly as he can. NWO. This isn't a criticizing the academy and praising Moyes. Don't get me wrong. But in all seriousness, I really don't think at this moment in time we've got young players that are good enough to make first team football regularly. NWO. We're in 4 competitions with a small squad. Could have used kids in domestic cups. Yeah, possibly. Good point. Trodge. It's just as thought. Aubameyang got 400k, didn't he? Then he didn't score hardly again. And Ozil at Arsenal. Yeah, get paid big money, and if you don't produce, that's an awful lot of waste. Adam, Mubama needs a year in League One or the Championship. I agree. To get better game experience and hopefully learn and improve. Totally agree. Wayne Carter. Yes, 20 grand a week is any teenager's dream. Should be, shouldn't it? Ryan. Imagine being a Celtic fan having to go from Ange ball to Moyes ball in 12 months. They might love it, but then again, they might not. Soho, good evening to you, mate. I'm not a teenager, Wayne, but I would not have nightmares receiving 20 grand. I wouldn't have nightmares. I'd love it. It's finished 6-0, did it? Hang on a minute. It's either 5-0 or 6-0. Which is it? Anthony 5, Happy Hammer says 6. It's one of them, isn't it? Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Baz Vegas. Haven't been over there in years. The Pizza Hut there was banging. Where the hell is Baz? Am I missing something? James, fun fact. It's nearly 3 years since Moyes' last contract ran down. I distinctly remember the fans' meltdown, wondering if he was signed for another club. There you go. Ryan, Hammers Mikey. I know, got loads of mates who are Celtic fans. When they ask me, I just laugh. It wouldn't be interesting. I wonder, maybe it'd be better for him. I don't know. Going to the Scottish League, Moyes. Jerry, sorry, still quite right. I was replying to a nonsense comment, but it's okay. You carry on, mate. You crack on. James, Souček is massive in our own box as much as in the opposition box, which is why Moyes struggles to rest him. He's got his qualities, hasn't he? Trini, new manager and style, and he has a miraculous change of attitude. The Moyes effect is real. Adam, why don't the under-21s play 11-side mixed matches with first team to gain experience and learn? Good call. I don't know. Good shout. Terry. Stel, how are you? We spoke about the back four. What do you think we need to change? We need to get a more dynamic back four. I like Emerson. I was absolutely wrong about Emerson. I didn't think Emerson would come good as a left back, and I think he's superb. Absolutely superb. I like Mavropanos. If we can just get him to get rid of the silly errors that he makes, I think he'll come good as well. We do need to replace Zuma. I really do. I like Sufal. I think he plays with his heart on his sleeve, but there's at some point we need to have a replacement for him as well. Rafael, good evening to you. I'm from Brazil. Thanks to Recovery Paqueta. We need him on Brazil team. Thank you for joining, Rafael. Very nice to see you on here and to chat. Dan, Stel is miles behind. I know, mate. What are we on? 10:40. I'm catching up. So bear with me. Let's scroll down. Usual. I don't think Eric 10 Bob has got much time left at Manure before he gets his P45. Maybe the return of the Moyes to Man United. How about that? Trini, all the youngsters you feel will come good will not get a decent amount of time to prove it with Moyes. Unfortunately, so I'm not saying it's not true, Trini, but I'm asking, in all honesty, I'm saying in all honesty, I'm not so sure that any of them will end up. We look at some of the players in the past. I've mentioned Sonny Perkins. There's a number of players in the past who have been in our academy. We've all been waxing lyrical about them. Oh, this player has got to play. He's got to start. He's the next big thing. He's got to start. And then they go off and they don't tear the. They don't show us what we were all harking on about. They all look good when they're playing under 18s against under 18s, under 21s against under 21s, and then they go off and they don't get any better. Robbie, Okoflex is a prime example. Good evening to you, Robbie. Okoflex came and gone without getting a chance. Where is he now? Callum Marshall's the name I couldn't remember. He's gone out on loan to West Brom. He's my next big hope. I really, really do. I think when we can get a player playing, being loaned out in the Championship, that gives me a little alarm bell going. Fingers crossed, he's gonna be the next big thing at West Ham, and I hope he does. Trudge, I thought Alaze could do a job as he was 6 foot and huge and captain of the under-21s. I agree. I regret letting. There was the other player, Ekwa, who we let go to Sunderland, weren't they? Alaze and Ekwa. I would have liked Alaze to stay, but he's having, he's all right, and Ekwa is doing okay at Sunderland as well, and possibly out of the two, it's Ekwa that is now getting noted by 1 or 2 Premier League clubs, and it's a shame that we let Ekwa go. To be quite honest with you, 50p. The Liverpool kids train 2 pitches away from the first team, and often end sessions playing 11v11 against them. That's why Klopp knows and trusts them. I like that. I think that's a good shout. James, the league and the FA Cup games that Divin played, he got rode out maybe because of the system Moyes played, but I don't believe he's shown enough, yet he needs a loan spell with regular game time. Agreed. Trini, main difference between Klopp and Moyes with training is Klopp trains with the whole squad, not his favourite players. Yeah, fair play. Agreed on that as well. Let's scroll down. Andrew. Would have been interesting to see if an unknown Declan Rice would have been given an opportunity to come through under Moyes. I have my doubts. Well, I think he only played a handful of games when Moyes came back, and thankfully Moyes kept him in the team. Would he have got a start? That I don't know. Hammer's dad. Academy players are skillful but lack strength and hunger. Only learnt by growing up the hard way. Bring back reserve team football, I say. I think it would have been better to have kept reserve team football. Mojo, first team system and tactics don't help the youth style. Different setup at under 18s and under 21s. I know that. Montana. Still, if that's the case, I would swap Deitch with Moyes. No thanks. Everton were playing some good stuff before Decore got injured. He's only being inhibited by Everton's financial fair play. I really genuinely wouldn't like Deitch, to be honest with you. Max Kilman is the one I think you're absolutely right. Should be our number 1 target. He was apparently rumoured to be our number 1 target during the January window. I think he's the one that we're going to be looking at going for. But we'll see. Crafty Dave. No more nightclub at Bas Vegas. Where the fuck is Bas Vegas? Am I missing something? Basildon, Vegas. See, I'm not from there, so I wouldn't know that. Ryan, how many youth players have left since Moyes came in and now are playing in the Premier League? They obviously weren't good enough. This is my point. I know that sounds harsh, but this is exactly my point. Many players have left. Many young players have left, but none of them, some of them are not even getting regular game time in Championship, let alone even the Premier League. Let's scroll down. I've caught up. Bloody hell. There you go. I've caught up. Moyes kept Dex in the team because Noble was in his ear, and Dex settled unusually quickly for a young player because he was exceptional, Trini. This is what I mean. Declan Rice was exceptional. Otherwise, if he hadn't been, he wouldn't have lasted much longer, would he? Certainly under Moyes. Right. Last part of the show. Let's talk a little bit about the game. First of all, look at the side that was set up. No changes from the team that beat Brentford at the weekend. The week before. Exactly the same team. And even the only difference being is there were less, the irony, there were less youth players on the bench than there were against Brentford. If you remember, I think we had 2 or 3 youth players. I think Ollie Scarles was on the bench and 1 or 2 others. So this is our squad, isn't it? Apart from Maxwell Cornet, who's out injured, this is our full squad, isn't it? With Johnson on the bench, Creswell, Ogbonna, Agurd, Phillips, Antonio, Ings, and Mubama. Look, Phillips back on the bench, I think was good for us. I think I understand why Moyes brought him on because we were losing the midfield and we needed to strengthen it in some way. And Moyes, that's why he took Ward-Prowse off. Someone mentioned about Ward-Prowse being a bit lightweight, getting knocked off the ball easy. Phillips, I think, had a slightly better game than some of the games that he's put in so far. And I think Moyes going forward for the rest of the season is likely to be looking at Alvarez and Phillips in that central pivot in holding midfield. Now, what happens moving forward? Well, we know Souček, as someone said earlier, every time Souček gets dropped, he comes back with a plum, plays better. So I think quite possibly, Moyes is going to have a bit of a selection dilemma moving further forward. So I think I can see Phillips and Alvarez playing more regularly for the rest of the season. And then I think quite possibly Ward-Prowse could be the 4 guy moving forward. Of course, the player that kept us in the game was Alphonse Areola. First half, absolute dead cert penalty. I mean, there's no denying it was 100% a penalty. And what a great save from Areola. Second, if you remember, it was always Fabianski that saved the penalties and Areola was crap at them. And Areola now has saved 2 penalties this season. First one earlier in the season against Chelsea and this one here. And it wasn't a bad penalty by Beto either. It was quite a decent penalty right in the corner. And Areola got to it with a plum. It was checked by VAR. They thought he moved off his line too soon, but that wasn't to be either. The second half, Everton started off better than us. Everton sort of got more into it. They got their goal. Again, lackluster sort of defending. How Beto can get in between the 2 central defenders and find all that space from a very long cross way outside the penalty, halfway into our own half, it was silly. And that's the sort of thing that we should be sort of, be on top of a bit more. So they got their goal. Some could argue that it was maybe sort of they were worthy of going 1-0 up. And then, of course, Areola pulled off a superb point-blank save again to keep us in the game. And then the rest of their, all right, they had more of it. But the rest of their shots were mainly from outside the box. Long-range shots, which Areola was saving. It was kind of target practice for him, to be quite honest with you. And that's why I think Moyes brought on Phillips. He took Ward-Prowse off. He brought on Phillips in order to give us a bit more solidity in midfield. And I think we got started to get back into the game after that. And then he changed even more up front. He got Bowen that went out on the right-hand side. Kudus went out on the left and Paqueta went in the middle. And the irony, I don't like Kudus going out on the left. I've said it a few times before. It's not his natural position to play. All right, he's left-footed, but it's not his preferred. Because he's a forward-thinking, he wants to get in a position to take shots. Going out on the left means he's going to be a provider rather than the scorer. And he provided, didn't he? It was a cross from Kudus on the left that managed to get us that goal. And what a goal it was. I mean, honestly and truly, our fans were sort of like, what am I I'm pointing that? If you, from that photo, you see where the stewards are, that's where all the West Ham fans were. And we saw it from that angle. My goodness me. I said it earlier on in the show. It was absolute. I didn't think the man had it in his locker. By taking it on the outside of his foot and bending it the way he did with his right foot, it was beautiful. Absolutely superb goal to score. Smash and grab, maybe so. But a game is as long as it until the final whistle goes, and you've got to try and do as best you can all the way through. And Souček pulling off that strike was superb, and that was it. It was over for Everton then, and then they gave the ball away from a corner, and then another absolutely superb strike with Bone running the length of the field, and you could see Alvarez running alongside him. I wasn't sure if Bone was going to pass to him or not, but what a nice little dink Alvarez got for our third goal. Did it flatter us, the result? So yeah, maybe it probably did, but then we've had teams who played us that results have flattered them as well. So like the game against Man United when they beat us, what was it, 3-0? That flattered Man United. I don't think they were that good. I think we actually played pretty decently, but yet Man United beat us 3-0, and no one could say that they're actually 3-0 better than us. So yeah, Everton were probably the better team, certainly in the second half. But I think we got our resilience. It was a better team performance. I think it was a better performance all round. And I think that result, I think we worked hard for it. Look, we're now in 7th place. Said earlier in the show, West Ham United can now go 6 if they win. If we win our next game against Burnley, we can go 6. I don't know who Man United are playing. I think it's Arsenal, but I could be wrong. But whoever they're playing, they've got to beat them. And if they don't win that, we're back into 6th place. You can't say we're lucky all the time. I know there have been a few games this season where we've kind of ridden our luck. But how many times have we said in the past where teams have played us and they've ridden their luck as well? I gladly take it. Do I think the style of football actually has improved somewhat? Is it still to the level that we want? Probably not. I think the game against Brentford, I think we played exceptionally well. Our defending was bloody awful. Yes, we gave a little bit more of the ball away to Everton, but it was at their ground. And playing away from home, we know David Moyes is going to be a little bit more defensive-minded. You're not going to be completely open and have the home team, smash goals past us. I was disappointed that we let a goal in against Everton. It would be nice to start keeping a clean sheet. But I think all round, we fought hard. We fought hard for that win. We were more resilient. We were more coherent. It was a proper team effort. And whatever happens at the end of the season with David Moyes, we'll worry about that then. But with regards to what's happening the here and now, if we're still picking up points, go into Europe now with a lot more confidence than we had a few weeks ago. And if we can get a decent result against Freiburg, then it all sets us up for quite an exciting end of season run. Right, let's go into your comments again. Sean, I take Ipswich's number 2 keeper Walton as Fab's replacement when the time comes. Well, Fabs has got another year extension. I didn't agree with that, but anyway. Delton, Okaflex is now playing in Holland. I didn't know that. Usual. Remember Tony Christie? Hey, Baz Vegas can do nice. Oh, you go off on a tangent, you lot. Trini, Moyes kept Dex in the team because, we said that one. Trodge, we will waste our whole window chasing Maguire probably. I hope not. I really do hope not. Ricky, if you think a girl is leaving in the summer, plus the players out of contract and one's gone in January, that's about 12 players to replace Madness. I've said I think we're going to need about 6 players this summer. It's another rebuild. That's the thing we need to stop doing. We need to stop rebuilding the squad. It doesn't bode well, but I think we're going to need at least half a dozen players. Hammerette, Happy Hammer, sorry. We should go for Kilman. I agree. Branthwaite or Dunk. Kilman definitely. Excuse me. Jerry, you will know Las Vegas if you get to a training ground near there. Fair enough. That's probably why they're buying it. So the players haven't got far to go for their dancing. Trini, many of the players that have left have not progressed because of Moyes' effect. No, I disagree with that, Trini. If they've left West Ham United and they've not progressed even after that, then that's not on Moyes, is it? Ryan, really think the problem is agents. They get in the ear of youngsters and make them impatient. Also, the agents can make a quick buck. Absolutely. This is the new business for agents. I think I said this several months ago. Now, the agents are looking at, yes, of course, they can make, if you've got big players on your books, of course, you'll make money out of those players. But they're also looking at the next big thing. They're speculating. So they're going to the young players. When they turn 18, they're going, I can get you a contract. Come with me. I'll show you the right way. And I think a lot of agents got a lot to answer for getting in the ears of players when they're still a bit raw, don't know what's best for them. And sometimes what's best for them is to stay where they are, not just about West Ham, but whatever club, stay where they are, get some game time, start proving yourself, and then start people, if you're good enough, people start noticing you. GJ, you forgot I was on time. That's disgusting, outrageous, but thank you for coming on anyway, mate. Crafty, still, what would you do with 30 grand a week? That a lot of rum. That is a lot of rum. Absolutely, 30 grand a week. Oh, mate, don't get me started. Sean, Phillips' takedown from the skies as the build-up to the second goal was pure class. It was. Phillips is a good player. I do think he'll come good. I really, really do. Hammerit, see the Bin Dibbers got another win in cloppage time. That was out bloody rageous. 99th minute. I would actually make a complaint to the FA about that, or whatever it is, PGMOL, the board that runs the referees. That was absolutely outrageous. Andy, goals win games and we score more. 100 passes across the back four don't really count. Good point. Happy Hammer. I used to work in Basildon back in my youth. The row of shops where the bus station was. Don't know if it still exists. I didn't even know there was a row of shops because I don't think I've ever actually been. Is it bad that I've never been to Basildon? You're going to probably tell me it is. Ray, Areola's performance on Saturday was the highest rated in the Premier League this season. He's superb, Areola. Absolutely. Toha. Souček scored a superb volley early in the season, so not a shock. I can't remember that. You're going to have to remind me what game that was. It wasn't with the outside of his boot, though. Sean, there's an Everton vlog which has the Souček goal from behind. Oh, I'd like to see that. I bet that was class. Oh, yes, I liked Pesh Mode. I know they were from Basildon. Yeah, I know that much. Andrew Kudus is beginning to get mojo back, looking dangerous again. Absolutely agree there, Andrew. He had, since he's been back from AFCON, he hasn't really been at it, but on Saturday, he was fantastic. Let's scroll down. GJ, 45. Is that what we had on Saturday? That's not bad for an away team, to be quite honest with you. James, United play Everton 12:30. That's who I think it is. United play Everton 12:30 on Saturday. We play. I thought they were both playing on Sunday. So thank you for correcting me. Just like someone corrected me when I only put 10 players on 10. I'm going to look at that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I fucked up, didn't I? Fucked up. And I was really proud of that. Of those slides. Raphael, what do you think about Emerson? Superb. Absolutely superb. I know he's Brazilian, but I know he's now he played for Italian national team, but I know he's Brazilian. Absolutely superb. I think he's one of our most improved players, Raphael. Scott, Mavropanos is the exact same player as Harry Maguire. It's literally like for like. Do you think so? I don't know. 50p. Moyes plays with a very small squad. Anyway, why not turn over a third of the squad positions to the more promising kids? Yeah, okay. Good point. Terry. Steve, what do you think? Stel, what do you think of Bowen's 747 hat-trick last week? It was superb. I'm really pleased for Bowen having gotten a hat-trick after getting so many braces in games. Was it 16 braces or something like that? Make it happen. Great. Thank you very much. Trini, the drop ball was the problem. The ref gave it to Liverpool and not Forest. That was outrageous as well. Yeah, added time and the drop ball. Andrew, need to get rid of Zuma, Agerd, Cornet, Antonio, Ings. Hopefully the Saudis come in for the first two and we can get some serious wedge to go towards next season's transfer kitty. A possible 80 million for that lot. Good point. And you're absolutely right. I think it is quite possible that Zuma will go. I think Agerd will definitely go. I think Antonio will go where the money is. Ings, I don't know if even the Saudis will maybe they do. Cornet, maybe as well. It will be less stress on him, wouldn't it? That level of football, I guess. And you can get a fair amount of money for those players. Andrew, I had a young player on the sides getting a rub down from Nolan. You had a young player on the sides getting a rub down from Nolan. I don't know who it was, to be honest. Terry, I know. I know. I really effed up there. I can't believe I only put 10 players on. There you go. There you go. But never mind. You got the gist. GJ. Arsenal are on fire right now. Big win tonight. Yeah, apparently they beat some rubbish team 6-0, didn't they? Steve, they were looking at Oakfield playing fields for the new training facility at Fairlock Waters. I don't know which is which. All I know is I'm going to ask again, and I will catch up with that. Toha. That's the one fresh. It was behind him and hooked in. Great technique. I think you're talking about Socek. That's it. 149. You've had your lot. I'm back. Thank you all for watching. Really much appreciated. As I said, I'll be traveling to Freiburg from tomorrow. Let's hope I can make it back to dear old London. Apparently, the weather over there is worse than the weather over here. So on top of the air strikes or ground staff strikes at the airports, and on top of the train strikes, the weather's going to be shit. West Ham United better bloody well turn up on the pitch on Thursday night. That's all I can say. Thank you all for watching. Really much appreciated. Really appreciate all your comments. You know what it's like here. Doesn't matter what your comments are. Good, bad, indifferent. Agree, disagree. That's what the show's about. And that's why it keeps the show alive. So thank you for all of that. I don't know when I'll do a show. We're traveling out tomorrow evening, so maybe I'll do one from the airport or something, and you can see Wiggy's new belt. How about that? And then I will do shows as we're out there. Have a fantastic week. Let's look forward to a decent performance and a decent win against Freiburg to set us up nicely for the second leg of the Europa League. And then, of course, we've got Burnley on Sunday as well. 10th anniversary. It's the anniversary, for those of you who remember, 6 years ago on the 10th of March was when the pitch invasions happened, when there was all the GSB out shenanigans. And I was kind of worried that if we hadn't got one or two decent results between the last few weeks and now, maybe we might have seen a repeat of that. But thankfully, the two wins that we've had the last two games will probably have stemmed that sort of rebellion. Fans running on the pitch, I've never agreed to. It only hurts the club in terms and the fans, because we'll end up getting banned. So I'm glad we're not going to see an anniversary of that. But the irony is, it was the Burnley game 6 years ago when there were all the pitch invasions then. Anyway, finishing off, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for commenting. We'll see you all very soon. Have a great week. And as usual, come on, you Irons.